Thank you. Much to discuss. Let me bring in CNN's chief political analyst, Gloria Borger, Jeff DeWitt, state treasurer of Arizona, who has just endorsed Donald Trump, Matt Schlapp, former political director for George W. Bush and currently the chairman of the American Conservative Union, and CNN's senior media correspondent, host of Reliable Sources, Mr. Brian Stelter. So great to have all of you. And Gloria, I just want to give you the floor first because, speaking of reaction from some of these other candidates of this no-showness of Donald Trump tomorrow night, you talked to Jeb Bush. What is Jeb Bush saying?
Well, I just asked him, I just caught him, and I asked him, what do you think about Donald Trump deciding not to participate in a debate tomorrow night, and how does that change the dynamic? Take a listen to what he said. Tomorrow night, Donald Trump has said he's not going to participate. What do you think about that?
I think it's a little weird. I don't see the benefit of him not debating. He seems to be worried about unfair questions when in fact he just dominates the press. It's just a strange thing for him to suggest. Yeah. If that's hard, then he's in the same position as Barack Obama. He doesn't do interviews with Fox. It just seems kind of weird. And the fact that he thinks he's being treated unfairly when he's going to be president of the United States, life's unfair. You got a lot of make tough decisions. You have to challenge things. You have to deal with foreign leaders that don't all agree with you. You can't take your toys and go home.
And Brooke, it will change the dynamics of the debate tomorrow without Trump there. And the question that Jeb Bush raised to me is, well, are the folks, my colleagues on the stage with me who've been reluctant to attack Trump, will they now attack him in his absence and be a little braver about it?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Before we get into how that could work, Jeff, I'm curious, when you've endorsed Donald Trump, you heard Jeb Bush say, weird, it's just weird. What do you think of Trump not showing up?
Well, I think this is an amazing display of leadership, quite frankly. Here you have, and don't forget that Donald Trump didn't attack Fox. Fox is attacking Mr. Trump. So that statement they put out about the Ayatollah and Putin and all that, I can't believe that they honestly believe that they're maintaining their journalistic integrity when they do things like that. So I think
that's a fair assessment, but if I may, he is also calling Megyn Kelly a bimbo. How is that leadership?
Well, they're trying to personalize this with Megyn, but let's be straight that he was still going to debate even with Megyn Kelly as the moderator. But when Fox put out that crazy statement about the Ayatollah and all that just junk they put out there, Mr. Trump is one of the most successful business people our country has ever produced. And quite frankly, he deserves to be treated with respect like everyone else does. So I think it's an amazing display of leadership. It shows exactly what we want in this country, that a leader that will back out of a bad deal like this turned into. It's a bad deal, this debate. And, there's a big joke about how the debates, there's the early debate that they call the kiddie table. And quite frankly, without Mr. Trump in this debate, the entire debate is now the kiddie table. And I think Fox really played it wrong.
Listen, it could end up being totally brilliant strategy-wise. We're all talking about him, and we will be for the next couple of days. What does he do? How does he handle this? Brian Stelter, to you, I want to ask about potential counter-programming from Mr. Trump. But first and foremost, you've gotten some detail from Fox as far as will there be an empty podium on the stage? What are you
just
hearing?
Receiving this from Fox confirming they won't actually put an empty podium. There's been speculation about this for almost an entire day. Maybe they put an empty podium, or I don't know, maybe even a cardboard cutout of Trump right there in the center of the stage. Well, no, they will not be doing that. They will not be pointing that out in that way. This is a very strange situation for Fox. It's the favored network of the GOP, yet it's at war with the GOP frontrunner. I'm not sure how they're going to find a way out of this, to be frank with you. I'm reminded of Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. Well, it feels like Donald Trump's stage. It just feels like it's his stage, and we're all part of the play right now. And that could go on for a while, it seems like.
Matt, do you agree with that? Good quote, by the way, Stelter. Do you agree with that? And also, how do you think this could benefit a Cruz, a Rubio, a Bush?
Look, I think that Donald Trump on these debate stages, although I know if you look at the polls after the debates, he always seems to score very well, but he doesn't really get into the details, and he doesn't really get dirty on all of these back and forths. He makes his points, and usually you have Bush and Rubio and Cruz kind of scrapping it out after that. And so I don't know if his absence is going to make a big dynamic change in the debate. I couldn't tell you, Brooke. I'll be honest. I can't tell you whether it's going to hurt him or whether it's going to help him. Every time I've predicted something is going to hurt him, it hasn't hurt him. So maybe I'm no longer qualified to answer that question. The one thing I'll say about Fox is I obviously wish, as a partisan Republican, that Donald Trump would be at the debate. I think it's good for the voters to get to see everybody up there. But I will tell you that I don't think he's at war with Fox. I think he has a very big problem with Megyn Kelly. I wish that problem didn't exist. But I think you'll see Donald Trump on the other Fox shows that he frequents, and I think the voters in Iowa will continue to get a big dose of Donald Trump.
What about Rupert Murdoch here? Brian Stelter, I'm directing this to you, because Donald Trump, according to Gabe Sherman, who we had on earlier, his source says, listen, Donald Trump, if he talks to anyone over at Fox, is going to be the head chief, Rupert Murdoch. That said, Rupert Murdoch tweeted today that he wants former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg to jump in the race. Here's a tweet from him. What's going on here?
What an interesting pot stirring here from Rupert Murdoch. Murdoch's the ultimate boss at Fox News, but he gives Roger Ailes a whole lot of autonomy. There's no indication right now that Murdoch is involved, even if Trump does want Murdoch to get involved. There's a lot of intrigue about that, as Gabe was reporting about whether that could happen. You know, I do want to leave open just a little bit the possibility that maybe Trump makes a surprise appearance. Maybe Murdoch or Ailes gets through to him, maybe persuades him. Like you, I've been wrong all along when it comes to this campaign, so I don't want to say anything for sure. Maybe Trump's going to surprise all of us, but if he doesn't, if he does have this counter-programming event, I do think it'll be highly rated. I think there'll be a lot of curiosity about his fundraising event, and there'll be a lot of tune-in for it. It's almost like Trump is this really wise executive producer. He's producing the Trump show, and if it's not on Fox, then it's on other channels. It's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's on Instagram. He is like a TV programmer at heart.
Gloria,
but
we started with Go ahead.
The ultimate jury on whether or not this works are these voters who are going to go to caucuses in Iowa.
5 days from now. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Gloria, I started with you. I want to end with you. You are there in Iowa. I'm curious, just you've listened to this whole conversation, your thoughts. And finally, listen, you've been covering politics for a long, long time. Have you ever seen anything like this?
You know, sometimes candidates in the past have decided not to show up at debates, but that was when debates were not the central events that they are right now in these campaigns. And they've become so huge that I think you know, it's astonishing that he wouldn't show up. But I'll tell you what, I was at a Trump rally last night here in Iowa, and I spent some time talking to people who were there. And the Trump supporters that I spoke with said it's not going to matter to them. They don't really. But there were a bunch of undecided voters there, and they said, you know, we ought to show up because we're all going to be watching. Now, if Trump just gets his supporters out there to the caucuses, then he'll be fine, and he could win. But the question is, if his people decide that they don't want to come out on a cold night, and they haven't been participants in the past, and he needs some of those undecideds who have participated in caucuses, then it could be a problem for him. It's very hard to predict how this is going to shake out, Brooke.
We're hearing that these caucus organizers are getting phone call after phone call after phone call. Where do we go? How do we show up? Turnout will be everything. Gloria Borger, Jeff DeWitt, Matt Schlapp, Brian